NICTA boss assures safety of personal information. 39 students released from homebrew charges. And daycare dream comes true.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Sunday's news. The chief executive of NICTA says personal information submitted to telecommunication companies during SIM registration will not be divulged during investigations unless there is a court order. Charles Punaha said this when responding to questions about whether personal information would be safe. Punaha also stated there are internal weaknesses in law enforcement that need to be resolved.
At this workshop, which ended on Friday, government agencies were cementing an arrangement where churches would take the lead in SIM registration in rural areas. It resolves a large part of the challenge of SIM registration plaguing the government and telecommunications companies. The concerns that triggered SIM registration include cybercrime, online bullying and terrorism, but policing still remains weak.
We do admit that at the moment, I think we have some capacity issues with the police because ICT is a very technical field. We are going to provide some training for all the police personnel, the members of the magisterial judicial services.
Despite numerous concerns about the use of personal information held by telecommunications companies, NICTA says any information will not be released during an investigation.
Personal information that is being provided during the registration process is required by law to be maintained strictly confidential. And a service provider may only release a person's information after due process.
For now, the church will be heavily involved in collecting SIM registration data until all SIMs in Papua New Guinea are registered. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Ley.
The Tanomotu clan at Barone village outside Port Moresby have questioned the newly built causeway at Motokea Wharf. Clan members claim PNG Ports Corporation has trespassed onto their customary land. Spokesperson Gaudi Ray says PNG Ports must explain as to why the causeway was built without their knowledge.
The causeway was recently constructed and is said to open the coming Wednesday. However, further construction was stopped on Friday following a protest from the Tanomotu clan of Baroni village. Clan leaders say the causeway was not part of the initial agreement signed between the state, developer and landowners.
It was never been discussed and what sort of benefits the landowners would receive or be participating in it. Nothing was done.
PNG Ports Corporation had bought the piece of land from Ketan Brothers in 2016. A loan of 350 million kina was also sourced from BSP to construct the facility. However, a causeway was not part of the wharf's construction.
What have you given the landowners? Landowners are your people, and you can't just leave them out like that and let them suffer.
About 170 hectares of land belongs to two clans at Baroni village. While the land title to the other portion is in court, Gaudi Ray and his clan say PNG Ports authorities did not consult them about the causeway.
Cash from the land, this is land grabbing. There's something like a land grabbing thing that's happening out here. So we want the state to actually come and then talk to us about this causeway, how it was actually acquired.
The causeway is encroached to customary land where hunting and fishing is normally done by the villagers. The landowners say the causeway will not be used until PNG Ports explain and compensate the damages done.
Resolve it in a way that we have a win-win situation. If they identify us, we will participate, we will give them the land, the resource they want to develop, so long as we are benefiting in whatever way that actually we see fit.
The port authorities are aware of the matter but are yet to respond to the demands by the landowners. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
17 people lost at sea between the waters of Finchafen and Siasi still have not been found. Director of Morobe Provincial Disaster Center, Charlie Masange, said the 13 adults and 4 children were traveling in a traditional wooden canoe used for long-distance travel when the engine stopped working before reaching Lablab Island. The disaster center has since enlisted the help of the National Maritime Safety Authority and the Australian government to conduct sea and air searches. 2 weeks after receiving an eviction letter, the Elavo family in Port Moresby's Ho'ola 3 are living in makeshift shelters near their original home. A family member sold the property to a known Chinese person. The family remains at the area with hopes to win back the property.
According to Margaret Elavo, her brother Paul Elavo had sold the property to GE Development without their knowledge. She says the police have visited them on Thursday to ask them to move out of the area.
They asked if a vehicle came to transport our cargo, our belongings. I said the truck didn't come, so they said they're going to go and check the boss and come back. But when they went and came back, they changed the story and they said the boss said you have to do it yourself.
The family told EMTV 2 weeks ago that they were being offered 50,000 kina by the person who bought the property and to sign certain documents containing certain conditions. Margaret says what has been done is done. All that has to be done now is for her brother Paul to come forward and assist the family, as his actions has left 4 generations of the Ilavos down and out.
Concern now is to my brother who sold this place. If he can come out, come and see the family, because he has displaced us at the moment. We really have nowhere to go. We don't know our village. We haven't been to the village too, and we are brought up, must be brought up, so there's nowhere we can go.
While Margaret and her husband, children and grandchildren have found a place to rent, her brother and other family members are still in the area, using remains of timber and other materials. They've built temporary shelters to accommodate themselves as they wait for eviction and at the same time to witness the demolishment of the house of their late father, which Margaret and her siblings grew up in. The situation has caused insecurity for the family, and the children have missed out on school for the past weeks as they face uncertainty in the coming days.
There's no more houses surrounding the main house. So like we said, the main house will stand until the new owners or whoever, they come and they bulldoze it down. That's what we are waiting for. Until we witness our father's house go down, then we'll all go out our way.
Stacey Yallo, National, MTV News.
39 students have been released from custody after spending a night in police cells. The students were apprehended by Port Moresby police for being in possession of homebrew. Police say they were conducting some kind of initiation similar to cult practices.
The 39 were identified as grade 9 and 10 students from Geraru Secondary in the Moresby Northwest electorate. They were found to have been in possession of homebrew behind a hill between June Valley and the NCC Valley. The students, all between 15 and 18 years of age, were in police custody since 4 p.m. yesterday. This morning, angry parents and guardians turned up at the Waigani police station to pick up their children. After hours of interrogation, the police officer who was in charge of this matter identified the ringleader and charged him for being in possession of homebrew. The other 30 were released without charges. Court documents have been prepared and will be submitted to the Waigani Committal Court tomorrow. Tekla Gunga, National, MTV News.
A woman was found dead at 11 Mile Rice Field this afternoon. Barbara Toai, aged 26 from Goilala and a mother of 2 girls, had been missing since Friday evening. Her younger sister Gloria says Barbara was last seen at Kinakon, White House at 11 Mile. After 3 days, she was found dead in the rice fields at 11 Mile by a taxi driver who had stopped to wash his vehicle. The cause of death is still unknown. However, her family believes she was murdered. You're with National MTV News. We'll be back with more after these messages. Don't go away. Welcome back to the news. The Australian government is leading discussions on APEC's business travel card framework, an important card needed for the smooth movement of businessmen and women in and around APEC member countries. APTC Chair Kimberly Stamatis says the group is looking at revising the framework. Australia is leading these discussions because it already has such a framework in place. The two-day meeting ended today.
And we've seen a couple of changes be approved by the group to strengthen the framework under which we operate, and I think that those changes will help to improve and further strengthen the ABTC itself, which will only prove to be more and more beneficial for the legitimate business people from APEC economies, including Papua New Guinea.
So as APEC economies, we realise that a lot of people have to do legitimate business within the region, and sometimes border processes can make that hard. So it's about facilitating that for low-risk, legitimate travellers.
Maprik town is seeing an influx of people from 6 districts in both East and West Sepik. Maprik MP John Simon says Maprik is now the central hub and leaders must work together to build better infrastructure. MP Simon says roads and the Hayfield Airport are the priority projects for Maprik.
The Maprik MP spoke to MTV News of the plans to expand and build the township of Maprik. He says Maprik is a central Sepik and there is significance in building better infrastructure for the good of 7 districts in East and West Sepik.
It's the entire Sepik Central. It's 6 to 7 districts of East and West Sepik. They come through Maprik. They sell cocoa through Maprik. They bring a lot of cocoa. They bring a lot of vanilla. And you know, you talk about entrepreneurs, you can never go past these 3 districts.
With the buying and selling of vanilla gaining momentum in Maprik, more than 500,000 is circulated on the streets of Maprik town in a day. Talks with landowners have agreed to expand the perimeters of the town.
There's about more than 53 hectares there. So we would like to develop that. We'd like to put a police barracks there as well.
Transport infrastructure is now the focus, says the Maprik MP. The Hayfield Airport is a major project which 3 million kina has been released out of the 10 million committed by Prime Minister Peter O'Neill.
Until now, only 3 million kina is released. And you know, I'd like them to honor the commitment and assist the district because the airport doesn't belong to Maprik alone. The airport, when it's built, it's for the whole of Sepik Central. And it will save many, many people. And in terms of economic activities, in terms of tourism, like Maprik is going to grow.
More than 7 districts in East and West Sepik are linked by road. MP Simon is urging neighbouring districts to work with him and help build roads, bridges, health and other services to link the people.
What about Sepik provinces? If Maprik changes, Sepik will change. If we build proper infrastructures in Maprik, it will help. Unfortunately, I am not getting the support that I should be getting.
Jack Lopave Jr., National MTV News.
Meanwhile, the Maprik MP is calling on state ministers of the cabinet to have time to hear concerns from members of parliament. MP Simon urged Lands Minister Justin Chechenko to attend a roundtable meeting to resolve land issues in his district. He says if the Prime Minister is responsive in having an open dialogue with MPs, why can't state ministers be the same?
But the ministers that he's got in cabinet, they seem to be more higher than the Prime Minister himself. They don't have time for us. I am really struggling to get in touch with Justin Chechenko. And please, Mr. Justin Chechenko, Minister for Lands, have time for me. Thank you.
Chief Migration Officer Solomon Kantha recently participated in the development of a global compact for migration. Mr. Kantha presented the government's position in relation to the proposed agreement that will bring effectiveness and practicality to the complex challenges posed by regulating migration across the globe. Mr. Kantha said when finalized and adopted, the Global Compact for Migration will be the first intergovernmental negotiated agreement to cover all dimensions of international migration. This follows a United Nations General Assembly resolution in 2017 to allow member states to commence negotiations on the terms of agreements that is aimed at supporting regular migration. Moving on, the United States Embassy in Port Moresby is hosting sessions on how to get a job as part of the information session at the American Corner. The American Corner is located in the National Library, where sessions are held twice a month, each Wednesdays. Lazarus Toa, who is well known for his Facebook page Current Job Vacancies Repost with LT, is facilitating these sessions.
Applying for a job requires certain skills. The U.S. Embassy has taken a great step in equipping individuals with the essential skills of attaining full-time employment. With that initiative, they are running free sessions on how to get a job, which is facilitated by Lazarus Toa. These sessions are held at the American Corner, located in the National Library. This is all part of the U.S. Embassy's information sessions made up of 3 components, which are writing a CV, structuring a cover letter, and interview tips.
One of our embassy priorities is to help make sure that people in Papua New Guinea have opportunities to work, to study, and to be, part of the growing economy.
Miko Gibaru, a first-time participant, told MTV News that she has been job searching for a long time. She was grateful that the U.S. Embassy provided such an avenue for her to come and learn these important skills. She says that it gives her hope.
When I found out that he's having his session today, I thought it will be something more reliable or something that will assist me to improve my CV, so I came to attend this session.
Unemployment is a reality in PNG. The U.S. Embassy and American Corner invite individuals to participate in these sessions, which are completely free of charge. All one has to do is RSVP their attendance when the session date is announced on the American Corner and U.S. Embassy Port Moresby Facebook page. After completing the 2 or 3 component sessions, individuals get a certificate of participation from the embassy.
And we encourage everyone to come down. He has quite a turnout and is very successful. So he gives a lot of good tips about how to find a job, how to conduct an interview, and all of the important things that people need to know.
Lilian Supera Kinea, National MTV News.
Early childhood learning is critical to a child's upbringing. Twinklestar Daycare not only takes care of children, but also provides early child learning. They provide free uniforms, free lunch, and free school kits. Owner and founder Alice Eseo says this has been her dream, and she opened up this daycare center last year.
Owner and founder of Twinklestar Daycare, Alice Eseo, has made her dream become reality. Her love for children and teaching them grew when she had her first child. With the support of her husband and mother-in-law, she built a small daycare center. Last year, September, the daycare opened with 2 kids enrolled. Today, she has 21 kids enrolled with 2 full-time staff.
It's my dream, a dream to start up a school like this. And at that time, I maybe in young player, but when I had my little one, me thinking, oh, now I'm a mom, so I think when something miss a dream to work him now but me make him. So I started the school last year, September 18th, and we've been got 2+ students that's all been sakam. And this year when I opened in January 22nd, kids started flooding in. These kids that are coming in, they are not from the same area. Some of them are from 9 Mile and 8 Mile, some from town, and some from the nearby, like Boroko and Waigani.
The daycare is suitable for children ages 1 to 5 and open Monday to Friday from 8 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. It is based on Christian principles and also provides basic English writing and reading, basic number and counting, Bible stories, and many more. By 2 o'clock every day, all daily activities stop and the students get ready for pickup. Making her dream a reality has motivated her to want to help all the other working women and parents succeed.
Teaching them ABC and 1, 2, 3, and I provide free lunch for the kids upon enrollment plus free uniforms. I give to the kids, and the other thing, before they go home in the afternoon, we usually wash them and groom them before they leave. So make it easier for the working parents, so when they come back to work, they don't have to wash their kids or pikini was finished, they can just feed them and put them to sleep.
Lilian Superakinea, National MTV News.
Here with National MTV News. After weeks of heavy bombardment and deadly casualties, a ceasefire is now in place for Syria. We'll have the details among stories making headlines overseas when we come back. Don't go away. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, after days of debate, the United Nations Security Council has unanimously voted for a 30-day ceasefire in Syria. It is hoped it will allow aid to reach rural areas, including rebel-held eastern Ghouta, where more than 500 civilians have been killed in government airstrikes in the past week.
The people of eastern Ghouta woke up this morning to continued aerial bombardment. And the news from New York that the Security Council remained deadlocked and still couldn't reach agreement on how to bring about even a temporary halt to the killing. Delay in Syria always brings more death. At least 120 children have been killed since Sunday, according to human rights activists. Hospitals overwhelmed by the number of casualties have been targets of the government's bombing. On the fringes of the Security Council, the tensest of negotiations, but always a sense of urgency from the backers of this resolution, and always the unresolved question, would Russia allow it to pass?
I would call upon those who are in favor of the draft resolution to raise their hand.
When it came to a vote, the Russian ambassador held his arm aloft, not to wield a veto, but to finally agree. Yet Western diplomats still attack Moscow for delaying its passage for days.
As they dragged out the negotiation, the bombs from Assad's fighter jets continued to fall. In the 3 days it took us to adopt this resolution, how many mothers lost their kids to the bombing and the shelling?
While we have been arguing over commas, Assad's planes have been killing more civilians in their homes and in their hospitals, imposing unbearable suffering.
The Russian ambassador was pessimistic about the chances of the ceasefire, saying there weren't concrete guarantees from warring parties to abide by it. This resolution brings the hope, at least, that aid convoys will soon be driving through these streets and medical evacuations can finally take place. But even after the Security Council agreed its passage, reports came from eastern Ghouta that government warplanes were continuing their week-long bombardment.
American scientists are developing wearable sensors to speed up the recovery of people who have had a stroke. The patches are the latest in wearable technology and allow doctors to monitor patients remotely.
Technology you can wear. Skin displays developed by Japanese researchers that show your vital signs. It's to put on patients so that doctors can monitor their progress. The displays are among a new wave of wearable electronics finding medical applications. In the US, Lizzie McAninch had a stroke 2 years ago. She couldn't move or speak or swallow for several weeks. Lizzie is testing out wearable sensors that might speed her recovery. They send information wirelessly to the medical team. She's a doctor and she can see how it could help her.
This technology to be able to put sensors on the body and really assess what muscle groups are working or not can really pinpoint the areas affected by the stroke and target therapies to specifically improve those issues.
The doctors here can continuously monitor Lizzie wherever she goes using these devices. They can follow her muscle activity, her heart rate, even her speech.
May I please have 2 tacos and icy? Yeah, absolutely.
The idea is that they can closely track whether she's showing signs of improvement.
Do we see that they're walking more at home? Or do we see that they're engaging in conversations? Those are the types of things I can get feedback from the sensors, where currently I only have their report.
The challenge for the scientist was to pack a lot of electronics into a small, flexible material.
It was almost mechanically sort of imperceptible to the patient who's wearing the device.
By the end of this year, the team will have more information than anyone has ever had before about recovery from stroke.
Push all the way up.
They believe that their study could transform the way patients are treated in the future.
To take us to Trukai Sports, a Tongan rugby player living his dream of playing in Europe has found himself trapped in Romania. Sione Vayo-Monga has developed kidney failure. Tonga has no dialysis facilities, so he can't return there or he will die. But no other country will have him either.
Northern Romania is about as far away from the tropics of Tonga as you can get. But for Sione Vayo-Monga and his family, it's where he has to call home. Hi. The former Tongan national flanker came to Romania to pursue his dream of playing professional rugby in Europe.
My name is Sione Vayo-Monga.
But just 1 year into his 3-year contract, disaster struck.
The blood came out from my nose and my mouth.
He went to hospital and stayed 3 months, discovering he had kidney failure and needed dialysis.
I didn't know what dialysis is. I thought after dialysis I'd get better. I go back to play and the kidney back to normal. After that I find out if I don't make the transplant I do it for the rest of my life.
And then another blow. Alone and isolated, he learned he couldn't go back to Tonga.
You don't have the treatment there, dialysis. And I know if I go back to Tonga, I maybe might die.
3 years on, his arms show his battle for survival and his reliance on dialysis.
For me, I'm lucky that I came because they have a treatment here.
His wife and son have joined him in Romania, and together they've had another son.
My husband is a strong man, and he managed everything.
But with no visa to work, home is a tiny one-room flat, and he's dependent on food banks and handouts while he waits for a kidney donor. The family's visas run out next month, but they're hopeful they'll be able to get a 1-year extension because Sione's life relies so heavily on this hospital here. He gets dialysis 3 times a week, and he'll need to continue to do so until he has a kidney transplant. But all transplants in Romania are temporarily on hold. The family now hoping New Zealand can help.
Geographically, the likelihood of him finding a donor is going to be a lot higher in New Zealand. He's an A+ blood type, which is very rare here in Europe, a lot more common in our traditional Pacific Island communities.
But New Zealand resources are also under pressure.
They can't go to New Zealand for dialysis unless they're approved by the New Zealand government, and there is a waiting list, and there's people in New Zealand that are actually on a waiting list themselves.
The fragility of life stares at the 28-year-old every day.
Dead people looking at us. It's so hard. It's very, very hard.
What do you miss most about Tonga?
Family and food.
And rugby.
Every year I want to play that match, you know. But now I have my own match to play.
A match where winning means survival.
After a week of hype and excitement with fans divided over the Broncos and Hunters, the match was finally played in front of a packed stadium. We'll have the details after these messages in Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. To Rugby League, the Brisbane Broncos proved too strong for the SPPNG Hunters, defeating them 26 points to 12 at the National Football Stadium. A grueling trial match has given both teams the perfect start to their 2018 season.
And as we speak,
the stadium was packed with fans of both teams decked out in their supporters' gear. As the players made their way out onto the field, the crowd erupted in joy. Before they kicked off proceedings, a minute of silence was observed in memory of the late Kato Watio.
Signals on and the countdown is on, the kickoff.
Hunters halfback Watson Boss kicked off beginning the first 40 minutes. Simple errors by the Hunters gifted the Broncos a chance to attack. Did not take long before the NRL Giants crossed over.
Jonas Pearson crash, it's over for the first try for the Broncos.
The game was intense, with both teams threatening each other's defense.
Ran back and a good strong run there.
The SP PNG Hunters capitalized on simple Broncos mistakes, which saw big Enoch Maki latch onto a ball from Wartuvo Pora, dragging 3 Broncos defenders over the line to put the team on the board.
Just wait for the replay here. I think the Hunters have scored.
With a few minutes left before halftime, the Hunters found themselves in front after Watson Boas leaped onto a ball to score after his kick ricocheted off 2 Broncos defenders.
He scored a try. It bounces off Broncos players and he crosses for a try. The referee confirmed that.
A successful conversion kick by Charlie Simon saw the home side leading 12-6 at halftime. In the second half, Broncos went in firing with tries from Alex Glenn, Jordan Kahu and Kobe Sims in a period of 10 minutes. Coriotes had the last say as he acrobatically scored in the Hunters' right side corner to bring the game to a close.
That'll be a try, and I think you'll find that it might be Coriotes who got that one.
Broncos trial match captain Alex Glenn says it was a tough match, which kept them on their feet all throughout the 80 minutes.
I know we're going to be sore tomorrow. Those Hunters gave it to us today. I said to the boys after the game, they can take a lot of confidence out of that and just keep building and building, and they're going to do well in the season ahead.
A few days we've been here, the crowd today, the way the Hunters played is exemplary representation of your country and your people. It's been an honour to be here and to play in front of you guys and to compete with a team that puts so much in. I mean, what you guys do to live together and the commitments you make to sacrifice away from your families, and I can't commend you enough for how well you're playing and what you're doing as a team and as a country.
Hunters standing captain Stargroth Amin thanked the Broncos for coming up to PNG to take on the Hunters.
I want to say big thanks to the Broncos for coming down and giving us a good challenge and exposing our weakness and our strengths, and we'll concentrate on our weakness, mostly the basics, play the ball and let us, but I'm really proud of the defense. Yeah, all in all it was a good game, so I think we had a good position and just going to work on little basics and fix things up and look forward for the season.
The Broncos and Hunters will now prepare for their season openers against the St. George Illawarra Dragons and the Ipswich Jets, respectively. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
And during halftime of that match, a cheque of 27,000 kina was presented to the family of the late Kato Otio. A Kato Otio Trust Fund was opened on the 12th of January for people to donate to help raise funds to fulfill his dream of building a house for his mother. Yesterday, the PNG RFL presented the cheque to late Kato's mother and big brother Ahulo. Over 1,000 kina was collected yesterday from generous individuals who contributed into buckets that were placed in front of the gates of the NFS. Brisbane Broncos trial match captain Alex Glenn says this is one experience he will never forget. He thanked the PNG community for their support over the past few days and says this is something that will linger in the minds of many of the Broncos players for a long time.
We're going to remember this trip for the rest of our lives because, your welcoming was just phenomenal, and we'll never forget it. Everywhere we went, we had people chasing us, shouting at us, and we were just bringing smiles to their faces, and we were doing nothing. And it's just surreal, man. It's an experience that I'll never forget, and I'll always cherish. I've got a lot of respect for the PNG community and the following that you give to our club.
And to the match earlier in the day, Nandi Fiji Aviators captain Josateki Sevao says though they lost the Melanesian Cup, they are looking forward to another year in the Fiji Rugby League competition and are certain they will be back to contest the Melanesian Cup. As for the Lace Snacks Tigers, they are ready for the 2018 competition and are aiming to defend both the Intercity Cup title and the Melanesian Cup.
We came with a very young side, and that's one of our game, one of our gain. Because we are exposed to international level, and hopefully we're gonna come strong in next few years, and we'll try to get that cup.
The Fiji boys, they're big in size and they got big strength too. So we're really happy with them, like giving us the much needed fitness we needed with the game stuff. So yeah, we're looking forward to this cup season.
To the NRL Trial Matches, and the Warriors have impressed in their trial match against the Titans on the Sunshine Coast. The Auckland Warriors defeated the Gold Coast Titans 20 points to 14.
The arrival of veteran playmaker Blake Green taking some of the pressure off Sean Johnson. He responded with some slick touches against the Gold Coast Titans.
Green again. Couple of dummies. Oh, little flip on, beautiful work by Sean Johnson. Bit of room here. Carter gets it away to Mamalo. Back to Carter and he gets over.
The Warriors winning 20-14, a handy hit out before their season opener in Perth in a fortnight.
Mamalo back to Carter and he gets over.
The Warriors winning 20-14, a handy hit out before their season opener in Perth.
Still to come in Trukai Sports, some volleyball, golf and rugby union action. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To volleyball, the second season of corporate volleyball in Port Moresby is progressing smoothly, with 21 companies participating at the Tarama Aquatic Centre. With new teams signing up, former PNG volleyball representatives are giving the younger players and their teams a run for their money.
The competition is an initiative by the National Capital District Commission's Social Services Division. It was organised by the current president of PNG Volleyball Federation. The main purpose of the competition is to keep fit.
To bring the corporate workers, this includes the government, the SOEs, the private companies, to come out from the offices. So to, sweat up and move the heart, because the more we sit down, the arteries get clogged up and all that. So that was the main purpose why.
Third week into the competition, many strong teams have come out to participate.
Oh, so far, very interesting. We got new teams on board. We got BSP, NDB, Westpac, DLIR. These are from the DLIR team. We got former experienced players from the 90s and 80s. So they've come out to play, and now they're starting to give a run for the money, especially for the new younger players.
The competition ends in June, and corporate companies who have not signed up are encouraged to come on board. Vitai says Season 3 will be coming up, and they are hoping more companies engage their employees in keeping fit.
We're actually playing the grand finals in pools, and then we'll be having a major one. This so that we're not playing ad hoc basis. It's a continuation from last season. We played for prizes, cup, plate and bowl. So we've got teams playing in those categories once they make up the finals.
Stacey Yalo, National, MTV Sports.
The Telecom Golf Pennants competition teed off the first round of 2018 today at the Royal Port Moresby Golf Club. 12 corporate teams are vying for the 2018 title.
12 teams have registered for the competition sponsored by telecommunications company Telecom PNG. Teams include Northern Oil, BSP, Aon, Starland Dragons, Martian Tigers, Elamotors, AP Engineering, DHL, Skal Mirupasi, QPR, Constantino Group, and also Telecom PNG itself registering a team.
The champions of 2017, Telecom PNG Pennants, and we're very happy to be associated with Telecom through sport, especially our Pennants, which is a team event.
Starland Dragons, sponsored by Starland Freezers, are the incumbent from last year.
I think we have great team spirit. We have a great sponsor. Starland Dragons have been the legacies of Pennants from way back, which started as Cathay Pacific. So we are very fortunate, those of us who were invited to join them. And the TST group, the Tan Brothers, they've invested so much in those of us that have actually showed loyalty to the team. So that's maintained the team bonding. As a sponsor, they've looked after us very well, both equipment-wise, refreshments, food.
With teams lining up some of their best for the competition, the Dragons' secret to success is being organized and having strong backing. The next round of the tournament will be on the 18th of March and will finish on the 18th of November. Harry Gimbari, National, MTV Sports.
Meanwhile, Rosalind Taufa, one of the coordinators of the Port Moresby Junior Golf Development Program, says the initiative is still seeing steady interest in the sport.
Yes, here at Royal Port Moresby, we have a junior golf program, which I am the junior golf coordinator, and I'm very privileged to say that through this development phase of ours, which will be going into the 6th year now, leading up to the 2015, there are a number of sponsors, and especially BSB, that led into the 2015. A successful run with a total amateur team winning gold, obviously, and taking the team, which I was very honoured to be their official this time. The one that was in the mini games, they are now silver medalists. So for the hard work that we've put in outside of their loyalty and commitment to the program, yeah, it was a really positive result, and the Pacific mini games was symbolic to what we're striving to achieve. Yeah, so not only Royal Palm, but we were able to be inclusive of our other juniors throughout the country, and we're very proud to say that we have a register, a national register, and we look forward to them joining us in the Easter titles here at Royal Palm.
To rugby union now, and in the first full round of Super Rugby, the Hurricanes coach has labelled his team's performance in South Africa as the worst in 3 years. The Canes lost 29-19 to the Bulls in a scrappy match in Pretoria.
Like rugby fans on the high veld had forgotten the game was on, and it looked like the Hurricanes had forgotten how to tackle.
Creel gets his pass away and Kotze.
Once settled though, the visitors gave the Bulls a taste of their own mauling medicine. On the up, time for some Canes magic, laid on by their South African-born wingers.
But Huisson has done brilliantly to chip and chase, and it'll be a simple run-in.
Somehow, after that try, the Canes hit a wall early at altitude. The Bulls, with more carries, more passes, they look more likely to attack, even down to 14 men.
And here is Lutiyaka, chased down, hunted by Perenara.
Twilight Zone stuff. Who would have thought 2 South African locks passing and running like backs? All was not lost though. Bowden Barrett off the bench to give the Canes a surprise lead.
Who else but Bowden Barrett?
The new-look Bulls team struck again. The Pretoria Battlers hanging on just, scoring an upset win 21-19. Often slow starters, the Crusaders were out of the blocks early against the Chiefs in Christchurch.
And the ball's loose. No one is leading the charge here.
Down a whopping 19-3 at one stage, the Chiefs' big names stood up.
Enzi, short pass. Kane in a gap. Now, can he link up? Weber's quick. He may not need him. Sam Kane.
As well as Sam Kane's effort, the Chiefs had a ton more ball while the Crusaders slipped off tackles. They also copped 2 yellow cards, but somehow managed to stay in the game. A try to Tyler skipper Sam Whitelock pushed them back ahead.
Whitelock holding it up. Whitelock stretching and scoring.
Match in the balance, then came a crucial moment.
It is high, but there's no swinging arm. The player is low because he's in the process of scoring. It's a penalty try and a yellow card.
Down by 10, down to 14, the Chiefs leaked 12 more points. A timely reminder of the defending champs' qualities to soak up pressure and then strike. And don't forget, they have more All Blacks still to return.
Further afield, it has to be one of the biggest upsets in Six Nations history, with Scotland somehow managing to pull off their first victory over England in a decade. The record 25-13 victory has boosted the Scots up the ladder and throwing the Six Nations wide open.
You can count at Murrayfield, England will always be outsung. But no one counted on them throwing the match away.
Away it goes in the knock-on. The last touch of this extraordinary match. A win for Murrayfield to celebrate like no other.
Even Scotland captain John Barclay was stunned by his side's success.
Where did that come
from? But there was no denying the early signs of an upset.
For Scotland, hoping still for better things. Oh, and it's Hugh Jones.
Hugh Jones getting his hands on their first home try against England in 14 years. The Scots not stopping there, with Kiwi Sean Maitland next over the line.
What a try, and where did it come from?
But it was more like, where did the try-scoring machine Jones come from?
And Hugh Jones now scuttling into 22. Watson and Brown gets him, but it's Jones!
England coming at pace in the second, but unable to pull off a comeback. Scotland ruining England's chances of a record 3rd Six Nations title. The Scots now go to Dublin, where they face Ireland in a fortnight, who look poised to take the Grand Slam.
Bandiaki burst through.
Ireland, the one team in the championship still unbeaten, but it looked like they were facing their biggest test yet. Wales taking a brief lead only for Ireland to come back and snatch a 37-27 victory.
And Ireland is still on course for the Grand Slam.
But as we saw at Murrayfield, any team could be unsettled if they come against the Scottish side in a winning mood.
And that's it for Trukai Sports. When we come back, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, fine weather for Alota and Popondetta, thundery showers in Kerema, a few showers expected for Daru and Port Moresby.
Were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's the way it is this Sunday, the 25th of February 2018. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.